You guys are something else, man. I tried to hide the hardest recipe that I was suggesting for you guys at the very end, the Omurice, and of course, it overwhelmingly won. Why should I be shocked? I don't know. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, I did another poll on my Instagram this week on my story. I gave you 4 options. It was 2 desserts. I don't remember the other one. And of course, the hardest one overwhelmingly beat out the other ones. It's the Japanese omelet and rice dish called Omurice. I think I'm pronouncing that properly. Tasty has done a bunch of videos on it. Andrew just went all the way to Japan to meet the actual chef who created the dish in the first place. He's the master of it. I'll never be able to get to that level, I don't think, but I will give it my best go today. For you guys, I'm at my local grocery store to buy out their entire egg section. So let's go grab that and some of the other stuff that we're gonna need. Alright, so obviously we're gonna need a ton of eggs. I really hope I'm not gonna need more than this 1 carton. I suppose we will see, but I also grabbed some rice, obviously for the fried rice, and some beef broth. This is gonna be for our homemade demi-glaze. Why am I making this homemade? To make my life more difficult, apparently. And that's actually what we're gonna start on today, and I'm using this simplified recipe from the spruceeats.com, and upon reading through the ingredients, you need something called clarified butter. In order to make this butter, you're gonna wanna melt it down in a saucepan. I only need 2 tablespoons, but I started with a whole stick. And basically, through simmering and skimming off the top all the foam and the white milk fats, it's not that long or difficult of a process, but at the end, you do wanna end up with this clear olive oil type looking liquid. Also, for a demi-glaze, apparently you need a ton of vegetables. I would never have guessed this. I cut up a half of a white onion along with some carrots and some celery. You need a half cup of the onion and then a 1/4 cup of the other 2. I cut these pretty small as well, and now that those are done, let's get on to cooking this. In a saucepan, start with your clarified fancy butter, 2 tablespoons of that, and your onion and other vegetables first. Saute them for a couple of minutes until your onions become translucent, and then add in some flour and let that flour soak up all of the moisture and butter that was in the pan. After a few minutes of cooking, I mixed in a few cups of beef stock, and as I'm rereading through this recipe, apparently this was supposed to be low sodium. My apologies, I just won't add any extra salt in the end. Once that mix reached a boil, I threw in some spices like some black peppercorns, some fresh parsley, a little bit of thyme, and then allowed it to simmer off for 20 minutes. After about 20 minutes, you're gonna want to strain this liquid and get out all the solids. Return it back to the pan, add 2 more cups of stock, and then let it simmer for 50 minutes. This was a lot longer than I thought it was gonna take me. We haven't even touched an egg yet, and I'm already 2 hours into this recipe. Thankfully though, we did end up with something that looks half decent, a little bit lighter than Tasty's version, but whatever, it'll work. Second up on our list today is the fried rice. Again, I'm using a simplified recipe, but first you need to start with some rice, and I actually cooked this rice a day in advance. I cooked this yesterday, what you're seeing right now, and then put it in the fridge overnight to let it cool down. The following day, I started in my stir-fried pan, a little bit of butter and 1 egg. I'm fully taking advantage of the fact that I can still use a silicone spatula right now, so that's what I'm using for the egg. I eventually removed the cooked egg, threw down some oil and some more of our onions. Gave that about 2 minutes to cook down, and then added in all of my other ingredients. The rice, some soy sauce, a little bit of pepper, and that cooked egg. Again, this is a super simplified version of fried rice. I'll leave the recipe I followed in the description, but if you want to follow a real, authentic one, I'm sure there's some out there. This is looking and smelling pretty good though, so I set it off to the side, and I guess I can't stall anymore. It is time to try to make this omelet. Now, following Tasty's second video, their most recent one, you start with 3 eggs, a little bit of kosher salt, and give that a really thorough mix before straining it. That was a big question of mine because I figured it would be a lot easier to get those egg curds that the chef got in the original video if you strained it first. And let's give this a go. I didn't have a spray bottle with olive oil, so I just used a little brush and gave that a nice thin layer of my non-stick pan before dumping in my egg mix. And of course I used some chopsticks just like they did in the video. I was trying to copy the way that they were doing it. From this point on, it's really like, it's up to you. There's no more instructions after this point. And because of that, and my noobish self, I had the hardest time trying to flip this egg. It just eventually overcooked, and I didn't have any of those like more wet curds in the middle, so this one wasn't terrible for a first attempt, but it's definitely not gonna work for us. I prepared some more eggs, threw them down in my pan once again, and to be completely honest with you, this one just sucked. I'm finding the most difficulty when I'm trying to flip the egg with the chopsticks and get it into that oval shape. It just keeps breaking and it's too delicate. I don't know how I'm gonna get around that, to be honest. I also feel like I just don't have enough egg mix in the pan because it's cooking way too quickly and I don't even have the heat that high. So for this third attempt, I cracked a fourth egg. Of course, I strained it, added some salt, and this one actually ended up coming out a lot better. It somewhat maintained the shape that I was going for, so I quickly grabbed this old football bowl that I found up in my cabinet. I tried to throw down some of my rice and push it down so it would hold that shape, put it onto my plate, and eventually throw the egg on top. This is like the ugly brother of the actual chef's version. I did try to cut it open, and I don't know, I guess it could get a pass, but I'm gonna try it one more time for you guys. So I threw off the egg. I did remove a little bit of the rice because I think there was just too much on there. And for my fourth and final attempt, we are now on egg number 13, I believe. Now, like I said, the hardest part of this isn't getting the curds or flipping it out on the rice. It's getting it to turn over so it'll cook on that open side and seal off. And it's really hard to do with chopsticks, so once I got the curds this time, I tried to flip it and help it along with my spatula. God forbid I use that, I know. And guys, just like the last one, this one seems pretty okay, so I quickly threw it out onto my rice and tried to give it a cut. With a little coaching, it eventually opened and looked pretty good inside, so honestly, I think this is the best one that I'm gonna get. I poured down my demi-glaze with a little bit of some parsley flakes, and now all that's left to do is give this a try. Now, does mine look anything like the original chef's version? No, absolutely not. But hopefully it'll taste similar because the egg is just egg. There's like really nothing else to it, except for the cooking method, obviously, so we'll see. I'll try to get a bit of everything on one bite. Yeah, my gravy is just gross. It doesn't taste like anything. It's just bland and weird. The rice is good, and the egg tastes like eggs. I think I would have liked this better without the demi-glaze. Guys, I'm sure this doesn't even compare to the flavor or obviously the presentation, so if you haven't seen it, go watch the original video. If you're in Japan, go visit the chef, I don't know. To be completely honest, I did not think I'd get this close in 4 attempts, so I'll give myself a little bit of credit, but I don't know. Maybe I'll try again someday. I hope you guys enjoyed today's Buzzfeed test. If you did, leave me a big like. As always, you guys always go ham with that. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. Again, if you don't follow me on Instagram, do it. I'm doing those polls constantly now, so don't miss out on them. Let me know what you want to see next week. Other than that, have an awesome weekend, and I'll see you right back here next time. Peace!